This episode is brought to you in part by Food Service Consulting Society International, the Americas. Visit us at fcsi.org to find the best food service consulting experts. Also brought to you by
LRS, Page, Track, Message. Connect and serve customers fast with LRS.
I'm Chris Tripoli, and I was a part of the Market Square Revitalization project in downtown Houston, Texas. Market Square is an old, established, small park in Houston, Texas. It serves a couple of different markets, a small residential market, as well as the Monday-thru-Friday workers and whatnot. I've known of the park for a long time. I'm very familiar with the city. And so I was real excited when I learned that it was to be revitalized.
I'm Bob Eury. I'm the Executive Director of the Houston Downtown Management District. We're a governmental unit that's responsible for the design and planning, construction, development, and marketing operations of downtown Houston, Texas. The philosophy behind the redevelopment of the park was to incorporate the history of the site, but also to respect the artistic intent and engagement of artists. At the same time was to really make it sort of the thriving public square for a residential neighborhood. You know, maybe what we really heard loud and clear is I bring my dog to the dog run at the park and I have a glass of wine and I socialize, and that really forms the social life of this new neighborhood. We had very little experience in food service, and I think we realized that this is one of those things where we want to get it right from the start.
And so they reached out to me in the very early stages to see if we could maybe help them decide if food service might play a role in the new revitalization of the small park. The FCSI consultant learns from each other. We meet regularly, we challenge each other, we network, and we learn from what others are doing. The best projects are typically a teamwork. And if you've got project designers and you've got operational knowledgeable people who maybe aren't fitting, and that means the client may miss their target. And in today's environment, projects don't just need to be on target, they actually need to be on the bullseye.
Initially thought it would really be a place that would be more like a serving kitchen, and maybe it was a way to think about it, that it would be used more for special events within the park. With Chris's help, I think we began to say, well, but if you do that, and the food's being prepared somewhere else, you could do that every day.
I enjoyed very much the first step because we took a hard look at times of day, customer traffic, consumer buying habits within the area, and we found different types of uses: the Monday through Friday daytime and the resident evening user, the weekend visitor, the occasional conventioneer, the exercise bike rider. We were able to define a multitude of users. I found that very interesting. Little Mia here represents some of the customer profile of the park. We didn't really leave anything out. There are actually tiny little pet edibles that are available at the kiosk. There's the outside free water. There's plenty of dog walking room. And so that was part of the design. She's just one of the many satisfied furry customers. The second step then was to try to compare where we might find facilities similar and what could we learn from them. So we spent some time taking a look at the smaller parks that are multi-use and that are successful in a variety of cities. The challenges started mounting for food service success, and the first one was size and space. In order to fit into the park and fit into the flow of the park, we knew that we were going to be challenged by the compactness of this kiosk. And so we thought that before we even knew what type of food or before we even knew who the right user would be, we knew that this was going to be a unique service space, that it may not be able to have all of the elements of food service.
Our FCSI consultant, Chris Tripoli, actually helped us with requests for proposals from local restaurateurs. And when I say help, it's not just writing a request, it's actually really beginning to help identify restaurants that might have an interest.
So the things that we were first looking for were people who were established operators, that had a restaurant background in some type of quick service, fast casual counter service operation, that had a quality level that was light and had a following. The last thing we're looking for was if we could help with ease of operations by that selection. And by that I mean if their off-premise location or perhaps catering commissary kitchen would be able to be used for primary receiving and some bulk preparation. So that eliminated some people right off the bat. The selected party that qualified gave the presentation and was ultimately selected by the board was the Fedakakis family and their concept Nico Nikos. It's a Greek-American cafe, about 40 years of experience in the Houston market.
Hi, I'm Dimitri Fedakakis. I'm the owner of Nico Nikos Greek and American Cafe here in Houston, Texas. So Nico Nikos started in 1977 at the original location, 2520 Montrose Boulevard, very diverse area of Houston. And we started there in 1977 and we're still there today. We specialize in showing our Greek culture with food, music, and our wine. Gyros is the first item that we brought in. And we started out with that and we expanded the menu. Now we're doing fresh pastries with a Greek chef that we brought in from Greece.
What's important about it is it's you crave the food, and so it's like, where can I satisfy the craving? Okay, well I know to go to Market Square, and it's worked extraordinarily well.
The project for Market Square was presented to us by Chris Tripoli. So one day he comes over and he says, "Hey, I got this project." After we said that we were going to go ahead and do this, we saw the layout and then we saw the space, and it's a little challenging, especially with food inventory every day that we have to bring. That's one thing that we have to our advantage, is that we have a restaurant that's not so far away. So we can do a lot of commissary out of there and bring it every day, once a day or twice a day, depending on how busy we are, sometimes even 3 times a day that we'll bring in food. We do cooking on site at the kiosk, so everything's nice and fresh, but like our sauces, our desserts, our marinades, our dips, those things are made at Montrose, and then we're able to bring it.
When we started, we didn't have much space, and we're talking about really just a tiny space for the kiosk itself. What started as a serving area ended up being pretty cramped in terms of trying to get everything required to make this work.
A lot of the architects that were doing this project, they were great architects and they were really for aesthetics, but they never really did restaurants. So I think Chris's help with that helped them understand what we really needed in there.
We found that we were going to be able to, within this compact space, design hood ventilation, so we're going to be able to do fresh cooking and fresh serving. The Captive Air company handled the hood design and the ventilation well. There were a number of refrigerated companies from Hobart and True involved in some of the proper placements. There was some specialty cooking items, whether they were from Wolf or from Vulcan, that were specified and used.
Where are we going to stock these new items was a problem. We needed storage. And what they did do is they came in, they put a storage room in for us, which is really great.
Tiny little building that sort of serves as a closet, but it's very well built. It's probably the most expensive closet that's ever been built.
And then they also covered the trellis, so it helps with rainy days.
Well, it's just the absolute most inclement weather in our climate, but it's mild here, so it's very easy for people to enjoy the park year long.
The thinking like a customer is where we always kind of reminded him that would help make the decisions. Knowing how long the line might be or how many people might be in line helped us design where we needed to have menu points. So we actually have menu displays not just at the kiosk, but further handheld menus available to help speed the line. It also gives people to do in the line, people group, people read, and people made their decision before they got up there. It also helped us decide what type of customer recognition do we want for delivery. Instead of a name or instead of a number, it was the quick pager device. And that was able to save a little bit of time. So people ordered, they got their pager, they moved aside, it went off, and we had to make sure that the design would have a completely separate pickup window. We only knew that by thinking like the customer when we practiced. We were able to then develop small packaging, because once we looked at where people might sit and how people are going to eat in the park, People might sit on the grass, people sit in a bench. So lap eating becomes something that is a concern. And so the more we could create for him some combinations of items that he did not have before, and create like little package value meals, things that could be in boxes, things that could be grabbed and go or ordered in advance. Those things were developed all at the thinking like a customer point of view. So the end product of the kiosk works in a very simplistic fashion where we try to have extremely good exposure. So from the customer standpoint, it's ease of access, ease to grab the menu, decide before you get to the window. So we've got 2 people on the hot cook stations and 1 to 2 people taking orders. To the immediate side, once you take your order, you're encouraged to just leave the queue to go to the right. Some people go find their seat. Some people just go to the right and stay because they can see in. And it's a good little small, active, visual product handling demonstration. And then around the right-hand corner is where you do the pickup. So right when you do the pickup is where you'll turn in the pager, and there is the mobile condiment stand. So people will do customization, and that's where they can grab their extra napkins, some special seasonings, or they'll bag it and take it.
Out of that very small space, Nico has really been able to make it work through the whole life, the whole cycle of the day.
I was very pleased with the outcome of Market Square, and I was most pleased by the fact that the park seems to have even higher usage and that the food service is a little bit busier even than the downtown district was expecting.
So it's bringing a lot of life back to that area, which it needed it, and they did it. They made it happen. We're happy to be part of it.
Our experience with the process we've gone through with Chris and with Nico, and really as we've worked on this thing, I think has really in some ways had results beyond our wildest imagination. The other thing I should say, which is important, is this whole thing, this park, and the residents and stakeholders all believe that this could be a catalyst for redevelopment.
It's being referred to as a good, successful basis for more projects. So that makes me feel warm all over because it helps me realize that maybe we didn't, again, just hit the broad target and feed people in a park, but we did hit the bullseye.
So in many ways, the park then helped, I think, attract other strong chefs in Houston into really looking at the historic district as a place to put new businesses. Then on top of that, we're on track here within the next couple of years to double the population, residential population in the area. We have 2 very large residential towers that are under construction. One will top out by the end of the year. I think it'll be open, and the other one will be the following year when it opens. So that, in some ways, the way food services worked with the success of the park and then everything that's sort of come beyond it, it's just an amazing story of how all of this has sort of worked together to create and frankly recreate this sort of historic community.